I graduated from UVM in 2017. I was a double major with Italian studies and Asian studies, and my minor was Spanish. And after I graduated UVM, I moved to Japan, and currently I'm a part-time English teacher at a couple of universities in Japan.
Yep, my name is Bobby. I graduated from UVM in 2011, ages ago, and I studied nutrition. But I studied abroad in Italy during my third year, and then after that I got really hooked on the languages. And I never majored or minored in any language, but it was just something I stuck with. So
I think I've always really enjoyed languages. So I grew up in a bilingual household with Spanish and English. So when I came to UVM, I still had that, passion for language learning. So I picked up Italian in my first year, and I continued taking Spanish because, like many people, we take Spanish or French in middle school through high school, and so I just continued with my Spanish. And I just really appreciate everything that comes with language learning. And it's not just the language for me, but it's the culture that comes with it. And you learn so much about a country's like society and history and everything with language learning. So, yeah.
I think I went to study abroad because of my ex-girlfriend, I think. Yeah, I wanted to go to Europe, and then Italy just seemed like the best country for me at the time. And then, I just took an intro class with Professora Borra, and then, it was a great intro. And then, going to Italy was super fun. Became pretty fluent, and then I just realized like it's something that I enjoy in my life. So it led to Spanish, a bit of French, and Chinese, Korean, that kind of stuff after school, pretty
much. So we met. I was an undergrad student. Bobby was a graduate student. And at that time, I think we met 2015 in the fall semester, because with many students who come back from being abroad, there's the opportunity for work study to be done at the Office of International Education. So I was working there, and then I met Bobby in the first orientation meeting. He had gone abroad to Italy when he was an undergrad, and I had just gotten back from Italy, so there was already that connection. And I was also studying Japanese at the time, and I found out, he's half Japanese and can speak Japanese. That's so cool. So our connection really started with language and a bit of travel.
One interesting part is that if you do study abroad, and I think if you focus on any sort of language or other culture, that you're going to be able to make more friends and connect with other people who also study languages and culture. And if that's something that you're not interested in, that's totally legitimate, that's fine. But for those people that are interested, it's like a really good way to just open up your networks and kind of break the ice with people and just make bonds, I guess, that you'd be surprised how long they last, so. Yeah.
It's a really nice community, especially at UVM. I found that the language departments were really quite friendly in my experience, and very welcoming. And if you continue studying the language, the classes they do get smaller, but you just have that more sort of intimate learning environment, which I really appreciated as a student here, and that really helped cultivate so many great experiences that I had at UVM.
There just is something different from landing in Burlington, for example, and you smell grass, and you're like, wow, this is such fresh air. And then you just walk around, and you just notice these things where you're like, the sidewalks are quite large, or the roads are large, people are large, just differences in culture that I think you can tangibly, recognize. And then that is really important for understanding America, or I should say Vermont within America. And so then if you don't study abroad in another country, not only I think will you be deprived of the opportunity to hone in on your language, but you just won't get the vibe or the feeling, the sensory feedback that you need to understand, like, oh, like, why do Italians always take a break from, like, 1 to 3 or something? Like, that's just it's parts of their lives that, you'll never have if you don't live there. And so whether you're science or business or mathematics, language background that you study, I do think having that integrated experience in a different culture makes you a more well-rounded, probably even more likable person because you won't be so like myopic in your worldview. So
yeah, definitely. I guess for me, I mean, I teach English now in Japan to university students, and I have been teaching English since I arrived in Japan about 6-ish years ago or so now. For me, going through the process of learning a language from the beginning, so I mentioned earlier that I grew up speaking Spanish and English, but I picked up on Japanese and Italian. I also studied a little bit of German, but having to go through that process of language learning and now teaching English myself, I found that it's really helped me empathize with other students who are learning a language. It's not easy, there's challenges, but there's also moments of, where you can overcome something and you feel really great. So I guess it's the impact of studying languages is a lot more maybe obvious in sort of my field, since I'm now in the position of an educator and teaching other students. So yeah, empathizing with students and learning another language, I really feel helps you learn more about your own language, or even the way you are, who you are as a learner, what kind of a learner you are, what do you value in your education and your life. So yeah, I think it's just had overwhelmingly positive impact in my life.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways that language has been used, at least in my life, but I guess in broad strokes that if you do study a language and that you've acquired a certain level of proficiency with it, I think it makes you a more pragmatic person, because you have to, as an adult, go through these frustrations and difficulties where you can no longer express yourself. As a child or a baby, you don't really care as much because the thoughts, they're not as cognitively developed, right? So your thoughts might be less complex. But as an adult, you're like, why can't I just say, hold on a second in that language? But because you have to express yourself somehow and be understood using gestures or drawings or dictionaries or whatever, it makes you a more pragmatic, hands-on person, I think. And so that kind of translates into other, skill sets that you have to have, whether you're a freelancer or you're a researcher or a teacher or anything. You're gonna have problems that you have to solve without freaking out or having a tantrum or something. Like, you just have to coolly analyze the situation and be like, what tools did I have to best answer this problem? And I think language learning is a good, very applicable challenge for anybody. So yeah, it's not just for books and poetry nerds, it's for everybody. So
so because I studied Asian studies, I studied Japanese at UVM. So I always sort of had an interest in Japanese culture and Japanese language. And when I was at UVM, I was able to study abroad for half a year in Italy, in Urbino. But I didn't have the chance to study abroad in Japan. Just financially, it just didn't work out. But I did manage to get myself over there to visit a friend who was studying abroad, so that was really nice. But when I came back to America, I really thought, I want to go back to Japan, but I don't want to go back as a tourist. I want to go back and really experience what it's like to work there and try to really integrate myself into the culture and the society as a hardworking individual. So I made it my goal to apply to the JET program, which is a government-sponsored English teaching grassroots. They have all these acronyms for it, but I applied through the JET program and I got to Japan, and I just went there right after graduating. So I graduated in May, and I left in July. And I really only thought we'd be there for a couple of years, maybe 2, 3 max, and it's been about 6, 7 years now. So, and I don't know how many more years we'll be there, but yeah, we do enjoy living in Japan. So.
Yeah, and basically it was a pretty easy choice for me because I have Japanese citizenship, and it's like Alex is like, I want to live together in Japan, so I said, okay. And then
pretty easy.
Yeah, I just started off doing photos, and then I do video work there, just freelance stuff. And we're pretty lucky, I think.
I would say keep up with your language studies once you graduate or once you leave school. No matter what, whether it's something like joining a conversation club or community, or whether it's like reading in your spare time, just try to find ways to keep up with your language, because you'll be surprised just by doing a little bit each week or whenever you have free time, how much that really helps keep everything fresh in your head. And even better, like if you can go live abroad, for a year or longer, anywhere you'd like, would be another great opportunity. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think depending on how old you guys are who are watching this, I guess, one thing is that a lot of, I think, liberal arts majors are concerned about employment, and it's a valid concern because I think very few teaching positions are around, and even if you don't want to teach, so what do you do? But I always tell people to try to network as much as you can while you're in college. Make a lot of different friends from different backgrounds, business, science, art, music. Just make a lot of different connections. Go to clubs, go to activities. Just during your 4 years here, make as many types of friends as you can. And you never know how that will actually lead into job opportunities down the road. Not to make it all about business and finance and stuff, but it's a legitimate, practical human behavior, I think. And so that's one thing. And then 2 is try to get as many professional experience and skill sets as you can while you're here. Coming from an old man. Yeah.